Good day everyone, my name is Loridin Ed Sumatra and I am the reporter for today's lesson. So in this day, we're going to discuss about the philosophies of education. So according to Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. So based on his quote, it means that Socrates believed that living a life where you live under the rules of others in a continuous routine without examining what you actually want out of it is not worth living. And as we continue this lesson, we have here a learning outcome. So at the end of the lesson, the students are expected to first know the things that should be considered in formulating their philosophy of education. Second one is to formulate their own philosophy of education. So most of us are actually, or you have been acquainted with various philosophies in your life. So in here, you are expected to formulate this in this lesson. So your philosophy in education is actually based on your thought on how you formulate your philosophies in life. So upon researching, we got this definition of philosophy of education. So it is a statement or set of statements that identifies and clarifies the beliefs, values, and understanding of an individual or group with respect to education. Another definition is, it is the branch of applied or practical philosophy concerned with the nature and aims of education and philosophical problems arising from educational theory and practice. Your philosophy of education is actually your window to the world and compass in life. Hence, it may be good to put that philosophy of education in writing. So, have you ever remembered those days, during those days when you're in childhood, playing that what we call teacher-teacheran, and then during high school naman is teacher and student role play as to present our report? Actually, hindi tayo aware, but then that is part of our philosophy as a teacher. So just like what I've realized today, na magagamit pala yun towards sa tatahaking landas in the future. Better if when we are making our philosophies, better ito write, kasi during those days hindi naman tayo aware doon, kaya hindi natin sinusulat yung ating mga philosophies. But since alam mo na, you better write your philosophies. You surely have one, just as everybody has, only that sometimes it is not well articulated. Your philosophy of education is actually reflected on how you deal with those people that surrounds you, with those colleagues, students, your brothers, your sisters, your families, and then eventually kasali pa dito yung mga administrators. So much for that. Your attitude towards problems and life as a whole has an underlying philosophy. So in this lesson, you are going to make yours too. So in the process of making, you have to articulate your thoughts on how you perceive the learners, on what are the right values, on what and on how you must therefore teach. If you articulate your philosophy of education, actually is you will find yourself more consistent in dealings with other people, in your actions, and most especially the way you made your decisions every day. So as a teacher, you have that tremendous power. You can make any difference for those young people, for those young students, kung na-assign ka man sa what we call this, sa elementary. So in this lesson, you will formulate your philosophy of education that will give you a direction on what you should do to be your students to ban agent of change. So, our philosophy of education is our window to the world and compass in life. Our philosophy is our own thought and formulation, just like what I have mentioned earlier, that your philosophy is your own thought. You've formulated it from your own idea. And then, just like what says here, that it is a compass in life, means your philosophy may guide you, may lead you to the success in your life. To continue, your teaching philosophy is what you believe is the best way to reach that purpose of education. You didn't get this degree, this course, if your purpose is to threaten your students, but rather you've got this course or what we call this career path because you aim to reach the purpose of education because you believe that is the best way. So all in all, your philosophy of education must spell out very clearly what you and how you should teach, how you should relate to your students to make a difference. The philosophy of education includes the concept about the human person, the learner in particular, an educated person, what is true and good, and therefore must be tough, how a learner must be tough in order to come close to the truth, with the truth. So you, as a future educator, you are the one who bring those truth behind those truth. Because you are a teacher, so you must teach what's the good for your students. So we have here an example, a sample of philosophy of education from teacher Macrena's philosophy of education. So she believes that there are unchanging values in changing times, and this must be passed to every child by many modeling value inculcation and value integrations in her lessons. She also believes that her task as a teacher is to facilitate the development of every child to optimum and to maximum by reaching out to all children without bias and prejudice towards the least of the children. So as a teacher, I know it is the most common philosophy of them that they should look their students without any bias, without any favoritism. Kasi tatatak yun sa utak ng isang bata eh. So, dapat isa ito sa mga philosophy mo as a future teacher na hindi mo sila titingnan in a very least way or in a very high way. Kailangan patas sila. Kasi tawag dito, mabibehind yung iba pag nag-prioritize ka ng estudyante mo. So, you should remember this thing when you are making your philosophy as a teacher. So, making every child feel good and confident about him or herself through his or her experiences of success in the classroom. Helping every child master the basic skills of reading, communicating in oral and written form, arithmetic, and computer skills. So, as part of your duty, as part of being a teacher, you must also help your those children to master those basic skills of reading because that is your primary role, to guide them, to help them so that they must know and how to read. Teaching my subject matter with mastery so that every child will use his or her basic skills to continue acquiring knowledge, skills, and values for him or her to go beyond basic literacy and basic numeracy. So, inculcating or integrating the unchanging values of respect, honesty, love, and care for others regardless of race, ethnicity, nationality, appearance, and economic status in my lessons. Consistently practicing these values to serve as model for every child. Practicing these values to serve as model for every child through hand on minds on. experiences inside and outside the classroom, providing every child activities meant to develop the body, the mind, and the spirit. So, take note, a philosophy of education should serve to inspire and direct educational planning programs and processes in any given setting. You must remember this thing, that you as a future educator, you must take note that as a future educator, you should serve to inspire, not to disappoint your students. A philosophy of education may influence what subjects or topics are taught, how they are taught, and perhaps more importantly, the supporting beliefs and values that are taught, both implicitly and explicitly within and around the core curriculum. To sum up, it is important that you make explicit your philosophy of education, because your philosophy of education is your window, is your guide to the world and compass in life. Your philosophy is your own thought and formulation, never formulated for you by another. That is why you were advised to begin stating it with the phrase, I believe. So, therefore, you must think about this. You must consider this a thing na hindi yung ibang tao ang gagawa ng philosophy mo as a teacher, but then you in yourself must formulate those things, kasi ikaw mismo ang gagawa ng philosophy mo kung paano ka magturo on how you're going to teach to your future students soon. So, hindi nanay mo yung gagawa, kundi ikaw mismo. That's why it is advisable when you are making or you are formulating your own philosophy, you must start with I believe, and it is best to state it in a concrete, not in the abstract like a theory, because this is your blueprint to daily life. So avoid using those things that are using jargons, using more flowering words, more deep words, which is hindi naman siya maiintindihan ng iba. But then you must to be concrete, and you must pick those words that are actually fit sa kung ano ang stand mo sa buhay. Because as what the statement mentioned here, it is your blueprint to your daily life. You must also remember that teaching not only what to learn, but more important, how to learn. So, di ka magiging teacher if you don't know how to value the learnings of your student. It is important for you to remember that you must practice writing your own philosophy just for now. Not just for now, but in the near future. Kasi usable talaga siya. Kasi kung mag-a-apply ka in the field of education, they must ask you, they must look for your philosophies. So that dapat ngayon pa lang you know how to formulate your own philosophy na with regards to education. So, as part of the end of this lesson, you must also remember that this philosophies should serve as an everyday reminder for you on what you should be and what you should do as a teacher. So, dapat ngayon pa lang pinapractice mo na yung sarili mo on how to formulate, on how you will live to those things na finormulate mo na philosophies.